I believe that defining phenotypes is one of the most critical steps in study design. For instance, the Taylor PCI study, which evaluated the clinical utility of CYP2C19 genotyping for clopidogrel in preventing ischemic events, the initial analysis was based on time to first event, and it was not statistically significant. And when they did the second analysis, where they considered the cumulative events, it was actually significance was actually achieved. This illustrates how crucial precise phenotype definitions are. At the same time, there is a valid concern that being overly specific can narrow the study population and introduce bias. So where's the balance? How do we define this golden line?
So the balance depends again on the phenotype and drug and the efficacy or safety endpoints and so on. So if you look at the Taylor PCI, yes, it was a time to event analysis, etc., the first event, but didn't take into account the cumulative events that occurred. And that's how it was specified, this pre-specified outcome and so on. In a way, it was very narrow in retrospect, because you're not only wanting to stop the ischemic events within a predefined time point, you want to stop them overall over a prolonged period of time, and they'll be able to show that positively following on from the initial analysis. However, if you look at events in the safety area, if your phenotype is not particularly specific, you get a lot of noise. And when you're looking at safety endpoints, these are relatively rare, relatively uncommon. And if you have a lot of noise coming in, the noise will drown out the signal. So when we do studies, particularly on safety endpoints, we actually define a very clear phenotype. And that's hugely important in order to be able to maximize the signal, because you will have small numbers of people you're evaluating, investigating, and you want to reduce the noise, signal-to-noise ratio. So it really does depend on what you're looking at, and it is important to pre-specify, because a lot of the studies out there tend to do post-hoc analyses, and those are not particularly welcomed by most clinicians. So it is important to have pre-specified analysis, stick to your protocol, and if you are going to change and do post-hoc analysis, be so open and transparent as to when you've used the post-hoc analyses.